Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel. As you guys see by the title, we're talking about two really good football players today. And that's me and James Bradberry, the corner from the New York Giants, and then Tyler Lindenbaum, the center from Iowa. And if the Vikings are going to be aggressive and draft him at number 12 overall. These are two really big names. These are two big names in the football world. Two really good football players, and these could be huge additions for the Vikings if they could get either one of them. I'm hoping they can get both. That's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Let me know what you guys think down below. You know what I say. I love your guys' comments. Best way to help me get video ideas, understand what the Vikings community is saying. But enough talking. Let's get right into it. Okay, so James Bradberry, the only reason I'm really throwing this name out there is because his name's been tossed around on the trading block for a while. He's not a free agent. He's still locked up with the New York Football Giants. So let's talk about the money. We can get that out of the way. The Vikings are, I believe, $11 million they have in cap space. So with the draft, they probably really only have $5 million. To bring in James Bradberry, it would cost $13.5 million on next year's cap. I think he's slated to hit like $20 million, but if we would trade for him, the Giants would take $9 million in dead cap, and we would be paying $13.5 million. So obviously there's that roadblock of making it work with the cap. But if we've been watching this offseason, the Vikings started the offseason 17 below the cap, and they ended up signing 3 huge defensive players. And now they're $11 million over or under the cap, I guess. They still have $11 million to spend. So I think this is possible. I think if you restructure maybe Brian O'Neill, give him more of a signing bonus, you can make this work. You can find $10, $12 million, I think, in this roster. So James Bradberry, I think he's frankly one of the more underrated players in the NFL. Anytime I watch the Giants game, and I know it's the Giants, and I don't really get a lot of football from them, but whenever I do, he's always the one that sticks out to me. I know the corner on the Giants, Julian Love. So anytime I'm watching the Giants, I really like to focus on the secondary. I like to see how they're playing, see if he could get in there mainly. But James Bradberry, he always stood out to me. He was always a very underrated, very disciplined. That was the number one word when I heard about the Vikings possibly trading for James Bradberry. I was like, damn, that would be a really disciplined corner they could get in. But anyways, he was the 7th best corner in 2020 according to PFF, and he had a pretty not down year last year, but he struggled a little more. He hasn't been a Pro Bowler in 2 years, so I think the value on him, you could possibly trade a 3rd or a 4th for him, and I don't think that's outlandish because the Giants general manager came out and said pretty much if the right offer is there, I'm going to have to consider it for James Bradberry. It doesn't really seem like James Bradberry and the Giants are really tied to the hip because I think the Giants are kind of in this reboot mode, and having a corner making $20 million on their cap is probably something they don't want. But I think James Bradberry, this is really one of those guys where you pop the bottle of Remy, whatever you have at home, you go and you are excited. You are bouncing off the walls for this signing because of how just consistently strong James Bradberry's been. I mean, every stat I look at for him, I mean, it's just solid. I mean, if we would bring him in, we're not getting like this lockdown Xavier Rhodes in 2017 corner. We're getting a very strong number 2 corner. And the thing about this signing, since we just got Nate Hairston from the Broncos yesterday, we brought in the Packers corner, Shannon Sullivan. And if we would bring in James Bradberry, and then we would possibly draft another corner in the 2nd or 3rd round, I would actually feel okay. I would feel okay with the secondary going in the next year because you still have the guys like Cameron Dantzler who could develop. But anyways, I think James Bradberry, take a little work with the cap. Definitely keep your eyes out for him being traded to the Minnesota Vikings. All right, now talking about the big boy, Tyler Lindenbaum. I always say trenches go first. Whenever I'm talking about linemen in another position group, I like to talk about the linemen. I just like to give respect for the boys in the trenches. So sorry, Tyler, if you were, yeah, my bad. Trenches go last today. But anyways, Tyler Lindenbaum, he's a center from Iowa, and pretty much the only really analysis you guys all need to know about Tyler Lindenbaum is he's not going to be a bust. He's probably the most guaranteed hit in this draft. Either him or Aiden Hutchinson, in my opinion, are guys that just won't bust. Like, they're already top of the league. I mean, Lindenbaum realistically is probably right now a top 5, top 6-ish center in the NFL. I mean, he's 6'3", 315. He's an absolute mauler in the run game, but also normally with tiny centers, and he's only 315 pounds. I'm not saying he's tiny by any means, but he's definitely on the lower weight side of a just lineman in general. Normally they get blown up in pass protection. He's the opposite. He's great in pass protection. He is so good. He's got really good core strength. You can just watch him when you're watching him. His knees damn near bend to the bottom of his stance. I mean, he is so flexible, strong knees. He also looks like a guy, I don't know why I thought this when I was watching his highlights. I was like, that guy's going to start every single game for like 12 years somewhere. I can just see it. He's like the next, like, I mean, I really do. I think Lindenbaum, if the Vikings would draft him at 12, you can say the center position is okay. Like, you can move on. I mean, he, right now, if you had Lindenbaum and Garrett Bradbury, I mean, Bradbury's going in the 7th round and Lindenbaum's going top 10 overall. Like, that's just kind of how big of a difference there is between those two. I think you can completely flip the center position on its head. Listen, if they somehow trade for James Bradberry, and this is what the point of this video wanted to be, if you could bring in James Bradberry, shore up the secondary just a little bit. It obviously wouldn't be where we would ideally want it. But then drafting Tyler Lindenbaum, shore up the center position, shore up the interior offensive line. I think that's the best way to end the free agency and draft period. I really do. I think that would be fantastic. Let me know what you guys think down below. I think it's an interesting topic to discuss because these are two big-time names. These are two immediate Pro Bowlers for the Minnesota Vikings. Let me know what you guys think down below. Skol Vikes.